When Daniel bought his lottery ticket that warm Saturday afternoon, he did it the same way he always did, without much hope, but with a quiet wish in his heart. He wasn't a man who dreamed big. But lately, life had felt heavy. His job at the old hardware store paid just enough to keep the lights on, and the small apartment he lived in felt smaller every day. Still, as he stood in line at the corner shop, he imagined, just for a moment, what it would feel like to have something good finally happen to him. He imagined freedom, ease, and maybe even a little happiness. With that small spark of hope, he slipped the ticket into his wallet and walked home, thinking nothing more of it. But life has strange ways of surprising people, and Daniel's surprise came 2 days later when he checked the numbers on the lottery website. His hands shook, his breath caught, his heart raced. The numbers on the screen matched the numbers on his ticket exactly. For a long moment he simply stared, unable to believe what he was seeing. After years of quiet struggles, small disappointments, and lonely evenings, it felt unreal that fortune had suddenly turned toward him. He thought of bills disappearing, of new beginnings, of finally being able to relax. He imagined stepping out of the shadows of worry into a brighter life. The next morning, dressed in his best shirt and holding his winning ticket tightly, Daniel went to the lottery office. The building looked grander than he expected, with tall glass windows that reflected the morning sun. People inside walked quickly, carrying clipboards and wearing polished shoes. Daniel felt out of place, but excitement kept him steady. He approached the reception desk, gave his name, and was shown to a waiting room. The room was calm, with soft chairs and quiet music playing. Daniel sat there, thinking about the future. Maybe he would travel, maybe he'd buy a beautiful home, or maybe he'd start a little business. He felt hope building in him, like warm sunlight rising after a long night. After several minutes, a kind-looking woman stepped out and called his name. She guided him into a small office with a neat desk, a computer, and a stack of files. Daniel sat down across from her, trying not to grin too widely. She opened a folder, glanced through some papers, and then folded her hands together. Her smile was gentle, but something about it made Daniel pause. It wasn't the excited smile he expected from someone about to hand him a life-changing fortune. Instead, it was a calm, careful smile, one used for surprising news. "Daniel," she began softly, "congratulations on your winning ticket. You truly have won something special." Daniel nodded eagerly, waiting for the final number, the confirmation, the amount that would change everything. But the woman continued, "This year, our lottery introduced a unique prize option. Instead of money, one of our special winners receives a different kind of gift, an opportunity that can shape a life in a meaningful way." Daniel blinked, confused. I don't understand," he said in a trembling voice. "I thought I won the jackpot." "You did," she replied kindly, "but your prize is not money. It is a responsibility that many would consider even more valuable." She reached for another folder and slid it across the desk. Daniel opened it slowly, unsure of what he would find. Inside was a photograph of a young person, maybe in their late teens, with warm eyes and a gentle expression. The woman continued, "This is Maya. She is part of a special community program we support. She has been through a difficult journey, and she needs a stable guardian who can provide safety, encouragement, and guidance." Daniel stared at the picture, his mind spinning. Instead of wealth, freedom, and comfort, he was being offered a person, someone who needed support, care, and a home. He did not know what to say. He had never expected his life to take such a turn. The woman explained how the program worked, how the lottery partnered with community organizations to match vulnerable young people with trustworthy adults, and how the winner was chosen at random from those who met certain requirements. She spoke gently, emphasizing that Daniel would not be forced to accept the responsibility, but that his acceptance could change a life. Daniel felt overwhelmed. He had only come for money. He had never thought of becoming a guardian or taking care of someone who needed emotional support. But as he looked at Maya's photo again, he felt something shift inside him. There was something in her eyes, a quiet strength, mixed with uncertainty, that reminded him of his own younger self. He knew what it felt like to walk through life without a guide, without anyone to lean on. Still, the decision felt huge. The woman gave him time to think. Daniel stepped outside the building and sat on a bench near the sidewalk. Cars passed by, people hurried to work, and the world moved as usual, but everything felt strangely still around him. He thought about his lonely apartment, the empty evenings, the silent meals. He imagined Maya sitting at the table across from him, sharing stories, laughter, or even quiet companionship. He wondered if maybe his life was meant to change in a different way than he expected. He sat there for a long time, thinking deeply. He thought about how money might have brought him comfort, but not necessarily purpose. He thought about how long he had been drifting through life without direction. And he thought about Maya, a stranger, yet someone who might bring meaning into his days. Finally, Daniel stood up and walked back into the lottery building. His steps were slow but steady. When he returned to the office, the woman looked up. Daniel took a deep breath and said softly, "I'm willing to try. I don't know if I'll be perfect, but I want to help." The woman's smile grew warmer, filled with genuine relief and hope. She explained the next steps, the support he would receive, and the gradual process of meeting and getting to know Maya. The decision felt enormous to Daniel, like stepping into a new world. But there was a strange sense of calm washing over him too. It felt like he was choosing something meaningful. As Daniel left the building, he no longer felt the same excitement he had imagined when he thought he was claiming a fortune. Instead, he felt something deeper, an uneasy but hopeful curiosity about the future. He didn't know what challenges lay ahead. He didn't know how hard or how beautiful the new journey might be. But he knew one thing. His life had already begun to change, not through wealth, but through the unexpected chance to care for someone who needed him. And somewhere inside him, a quiet voice whispered that maybe this was the kind of luck he needed all along. Daniel spent the next few days thinking about what his life was about to become. Even though he had agreed to meet Maya, he still felt nervous every morning when he woke up. His small apartment suddenly felt important in a new way. It was no longer just his own private space. Soon, he might share it with someone who needed comfort, reassurance, and safety. He walked through each room slowly, imagining how Maya might see it. The place looked plain, beige walls, old furniture, and quiet corners. Nothing looked special, but Daniel hoped it could feel warm enough for someone starting over. He cleaned the apartment more thoroughly than he ever had before. He washed the curtains, scrubbed the floors, organized the kitchen shelves, and even bought a small plant to put on the dining table. He wasn't usually the type to decorate, but something about the idea of making the place welcoming made him care. Maybe it was because he knew how it felt to walk into cold, empty rooms. He didn't want Maya to feel that way. The program coordinator, a woman named Mrs. Collins, called him 2 days after he filled out all the paperwork. Her voice was warm and encouraging. "Daniel, we can arrange your first meeting with Maya this weekend," she said gently. "It will be in a safe and comfortable place, and you won't be alone. It's just a simple introduction. Nothing stressful." Daniel swallowed hard and replied, "That sounds good. I'm ready, or at least I hope I am." Mrs. Collins laughed softly. "No one is ever completely ready. What matters is that you care." The night before the meeting, Daniel barely slept. He paced around the apartment, worrying about whether Maya would like him, trust him, or even want to speak to him. What if she didn't feel comfortable around him? What if he made a mistake? He wanted to help, but he didn't want to scare her or make her feel pressured. These thoughts circled in his mind until the sun started rising. painting soft orange light through the windows. On the day of the meeting, Daniel put on a clean shirt and tried to calm his breathing. He arrived early at the community center where the meeting was scheduled. The building was simple but cheerful, with colorful posters on the walls and small groups of people chatting quietly. He sat in the waiting area, tapping his foot nervously. After a few minutes, Mrs. Collins appeared with a warm smile. "Daniel? Maya is almost ready. Why don't we go sit in the meeting room?" Round. He followed her into a small room with a round table and comfortable chairs. The sunlight through the window made the space feel peaceful. Daniel sat down and clasped his hands together as he waited. His heart beat fast, but he reminded himself to stay calm. He wanted to make a good impression. The door opened softly, and a young girl stepped inside. She looked smaller than Daniel expected. Her dark hair was neatly tied back, and she held her hands together in front of her as she walked. She looked uncertain, but her eyes were gentle, just like in the picture. She was accompanied by another staff member who gave Daniel a friendly nod. "Maya," Mrs. Collins said softly. "This is Daniel. This is Daniel." Maya glanced up at him briefly, then looked away. Daniel felt a rush of tenderness, not pity, but an understanding that she must be feeling scared, confused, and unsure of what this meeting meant. He offered a gentle smile. "Hi, Maya," he said quietly. "It's nice to meet you." She nodded slightly but didn't speak. Daniel didn't mind. He understood that trust took time. They all sat at the table, and Mrs. Collins guided the conversation. She asked both of them simple questions: what they liked to eat, their favorite hobbies, small things that didn't feel too heavy. Daniel made sure to keep his voice soft and patient, answering honestly but not in a way that pushed Maya to talk. After several minutes, Maya whispered her first words. "I like drawing." Daniel's smile grew warmer. "That's wonderful," he said softly. "I used to draw a little when I was younger. Mostly simple things. I was never very good, but I enjoyed it." Maya looked at him for a moment, then looked down again. But for Daniel, that brief eye contact felt like a small victory, a little sign of trust forming between them. The meeting lasted about an hour. Maya spoke only a few times, but each word felt meaningful. She told them she liked quiet spaces, warm blankets, and stories with hopeful endings. She didn't talk about her past, and Daniel didn't ask. He knew the program would support them in those deeper conversations later. But today was just about making a gentle connection. When the meeting was over, Maya stood quietly near the door. Daniel felt a mix of emotions: relief that the meeting went well, gratitude that she didn't seem frightened of him, and a tender hope that they could build something good together. As they said goodbye, Maya hesitated for a moment, then whispered, "Thank you for coming." Daniel felt his heart soften. "Thank you for meeting me," he replied. On the way home, Daniel replayed every moment in his mind. He felt a responsibility larger than anything he had ever taken on before. But he also felt something else, something warm and steady. Maybe this was the beginning of a purpose he had long been searching for. Over the next week, Daniel prepared more carefully. The program scheduled another meeting, this time in a small park nearby. Daniel arrived early again, sitting on a bench under a gentle shade. When Maya arrived, she wore a small patterned scarf and held a sketchbook in her hands. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi, Maya," Daniel replied. "Is that your sketchbook?" She nodded and sat beside him, leaving a comfortable space between them. With slow, careful motions, she opened the book. Daniel saw drawings of trees, small houses, and peaceful skies. Every picture seemed thoughtful, filled with calm colors and quiet detail. "These are beautiful," Daniel said truthfully. Maya looked down shyly. "Thank you." They talked a little more about nature, favorite foods, and simple daily things. Daniel listened carefully to every word. wanting her to feel heard and safe. When the meeting ended, Maya gave him a tiny smile, and Daniel felt a small spark of joy. It wasn't loud or bright, but it was the kind of warmth that stayed with him long after she left. The third meeting happened in a supervised setting again, but this time they talked about what life with Daniel might look like. The staff explained the support available: counselors, community visits, guidance for both Daniel and Maya. Maya listened quietly, sometimes glancing at Daniel. "Would you feel comfortable living with Daniel?" Mrs. Collins asked gently. Maya hesitated. She looked down at her hands, then up at Daniel. Her voice was quiet, but clear. "I think I want to try." Daniel felt his chest tighten with emotion. Not fear this time, but gratitude. He smiled softly at her. "I'll do my best," he said. "I don't know everything yet, but I'll learn." Maya gave a small nod, and for the first time, Daniel saw a tiny flicker of trust in her eyes. Over the next several days, arrangements were made. Daniel prepared a room for Maya. A small room, but cozy. He bought soft blankets, a small lamp with warm light, a few art supplies, and a shelf where Maya could place her drawings if she wanted. He wanted her to have a space that felt safe and calm. When the day finally came for Maya to move in, Daniel stood at the doorway, trying to hide his nervousness. Maya stepped inside slowly, looking around with wide eyes. Daniel gave her space to explore. She touched the edges of the bookshelf, the lamp, and the soft blanket on the bed. Finally, she looked up at him. "It's nice," she said quietly. Daniel felt a wave of relief. "I'm glad you like it." That evening, they ate a simple dinner together, warm soup and bread. They talked lightly, and Daniel kept checking if she felt comfortable. Maya didn't say much, but her calm presence filled the apartment in a way Daniel had never felt before. It no longer felt empty. Later that night, Daniel sat on the couch, thinking about everything that had happened. Life had changed so quickly. He still didn't fully understand how a lottery win had led him here, but he felt something deep inside, a sense that he was exactly where he needed to be. And in the quiet of the evening, as Maya settled into her new room, Daniel realized that sometimes the greatest gifts in life don't come in the form of money or comfort. Sometimes they come as a chance to be needed, to care, and to build something meaningful with someone who deserves kindness. It was only the beginning of their journey. But already, Daniel felt a gentle hope growing inside him. Steady, warm, and real. Maya had been living in Daniel's apartment for a week, and every day brought something new routines, new questions, new small steps forward that felt meaningful for both of them. Daniel tried not to overwhelm her, so he set gentle habits that gave her comfort without pressure. Each morning, he made breakfast quietly, leaving the choice open for her to join him or eat later. Maya usually came out after a few minutes, still shy but slowly getting used to the peaceful start of their day. The mornings were slow and soft, filled with the sound of the kettle boiling or the gentle tap of the spoon against a bowl. Sometimes Maya would speak a few words, telling Daniel which cereal she preferred, or asking softly if they had enough milk for the next day. Daniel always answered kindly, happy to hear even the smallest question from her. He knew she still felt unsure, but she was trying, and that meant a lot. One afternoon, Maya returned from her community art class, holding a folded piece of paper. Daniel was washing dishes in the kitchen when she placed the paper gently on the counter. "I made this," she said quietly, her voice barely louder than a whisper. Daniel dried his hands and opened the paper carefully. Inside was a lovely drawing of their apartment building, but with small touches that made it look friendlier. Flowers on the windowsills, soft light coming from the windows, and gentle clouds floating above it. "It's beautiful," Daniel said with genuine admiration. "Is that our home?" Maya nodded slightly. "I tried to make it look nice." "It already is nice," he said, "but you made it look even better." A small smile tugged at her lips, and for a moment, the room felt warm. Maya didn't say anything else, but she left the drawing on the counter as she walked to her room. Daniel watched her go, grateful for the tiny sign of comfort she was starting to feel. Later that evening, Daniel asked Maya if she wanted to hang the drawing in the living room. She hesitated, uncertain if it was okay, but Daniel encouraged her gently. Together, they found a small frame and placed the drawing inside. As Daniel hung it on the wall, Maya stood quietly beside him, watching. "It makes the room feel happier," she whispered. Daniel smiled at the soft honesty in her voice. "It does. Thank you for sharing it with me." Over the next few days, small changes continued to take shape. Maya began helping with simple tasks like setting the table or folding laundry. Daniel never asked her to do anything. She simply started offering on her own. Maybe because helping made her feel more at home. Daniel noticed her growing confidence and always thanked her, letting her know her presence mattered. One Saturday morning, Daniel suggested they visit the park again. He wanted her to have fresh air and see new things. Maya agreed, though she held her sketchbook close to her chest, almost like a shield. When they reached the park, the air was crisp and gentle. They found a spot under a big tree, the leaves whispering softly above them. "Do you want to draw?" Daniel asked gently. Maya nodded and opened her sketchbook. As she sketched, Daniel sat quietly beside her, respecting her space. He watched the children playing nearby, the dogs chasing balls, and the sunlight moving through the branches. He realized he was feeling something he hadn't felt in years: peace. After a while, Maya tapped him lightly on the arm. "Can I show you?" she asked. "Of course," Daniel replied. She turned the sketchbook around. She had drawn the park, but she had also drawn him sitting next to her. The picture showed Daniel looking relaxed and peaceful, with gentle lines that made him seem calm and kind. "This is amazing," he said softly. "You're very talented." Maya looked down a little shyly. "I wanted to draw something nice." "You did," Daniel replied. "Thank you. It means a lot." They spent the rest of the afternoon walking through the park, looking at flowers and watching the ducks near the pond. Maya didn't talk much, but she looked around with curiosity, and Daniel could see she was starting to enjoy moments of calm. That evening, after dinner, Maya stayed in the living room, instead of returning to her room right away. She sat on the floor, arranging her pencils and sketchbook. Daniel sat on the couch with a book, giving her space while still being nearby. The quiet between them felt comfortable, like they were sharing the same peaceful moment in different ways. After a few minutes, Maya spoke. "Daniel." "Yes?" he replied, gently. "Do you think it's okay if I put some of my drawings on my wall?" Now, Daniel smiled warmly. "Of course it's okay. It's your room. You can make it feel like your space." Maya nodded, seeming relieved. I didn't want to do something wrong." "You're not doing anything wrong," Daniel said softly. "This is your home too. You can make it feel like you." Maya's eyes softened, and she said a quiet, "Thank you." She stood up and walked to her room, carrying her sketchbook protectively. Daniel could hear the soft sounds of tape being torn as she decorated her wall. The thought made him smile. She was settling in. The next day, Maya surprised him again. She woke up earlier than usual and sat at the dining table, waiting for breakfast. Daniel blinked in surprise as he saw her already awake. "You're up early," he said kindly. "I drew something," she said, pushing a paper toward him. Daniel picked it up and saw a picture of the two of them eating breakfast at the same table. Maya had drawn the room with warm colors, gentle lines, and a soft glow around them that made everything look peaceful. "It's wonderful," Daniel said. "Really wonderful." Maya smiled, the kind of smile that reached her eyes this time. I wanted to draw something about us. Daniel felt a warmth spread through his chest. He didn't say much, afraid that too many words might overwhelm her. Instead, he said softly, "I'm really glad you're here, Maya." Maya lowered her gaze but kept smiling. Me too. As the days passed, their routines became smoother. Maya began talking a little more, asking small questions about cooking or about the neighborhood. She still had moments where she grew quiet and distant. But Daniel always gave her space. He knew healing wasn't something that happened quickly. It grew slowly, gently, through trust and care. One evening, it rained softly outside. The gentle sound of raindrops filled the apartment, making everything feel calm. Daniel sat on the couch reading, while Maya sat at the table, drawing another picture. After a while, she stood up and walked toward him. "Daniel?" she said in a slightly nervous tone. "Yes, Maya?" he replied, putting down his book. She held out a small drawing. "I made this for you." Daniel took it carefully. It was a drawing of their apartment from the outside, but this time, she had drawn both of them standing on the balcony. They looked peaceful, surrounded by soft lights from the windows. "It's beautiful," Daniel said sincerely. "Thank you, Maya." She looked relieved, even proud, and sat beside him on the couch for the first time since moving in. She sat quietly, but her presence was warm and close. After a few minutes, she spoke softly. I like living here." Daniel's chest tightened gently with emotion. "I'm really glad. I want this to be a safe place for you." Maya nodded. She leaned back slightly, not touching him yet, but sitting closer than ever before. The rain continued to fall softly outside, and for the first time, the apartment truly felt like a home shared, warm, and filled with a quiet sense of belonging. Daniel looked at Maya, grateful for the trust she was slowly giving him. And as he sat there beside her, he realized that this journey, which had begun with a strange and unexpected prize, had become something deeply meaningful. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It wasn't easy, but it was real. Part by part, moment by moment, they were building something steady, something like hope. And Daniel knew there was still so much ahead of them. But for now, the simple warmth of this quiet evening was enough. The weeks that followed were filled with gentle progress, small discoveries, and quiet moments that slowly began to shape Daniel and Maya's life into something warm and steady. Life was far from perfect, and there were still many things Daniel didn't know about being a guardian. But every day, he tried his best. And every day, Maya gave him a little more trust, a little more comfort, and a little more hope. One bright morning, Maya woke up earlier than usual. Daniel found her sitting at the dining table with her sketchbook open, her pencils neatly arranged in a row. She was drawing with a calm expression on her face, and the early sunlight made her hair shine softly. "Good morning," Daniel said, surprised. "Good morning," Maya replied, her voice steady. Daniel smiled and made breakfast, stealing small glances at her as she worked. There was something peaceful about the way she drew, as if the world quieted down around her whenever she used her pencils. After a few minutes, she looked up. "Daniel, can I show you something later?" "Of course," he answered warmly. "I'd love to see it." She nodded, seeming satisfied. That afternoon, Maya asked if they could go outside. This surprised Daniel, because until now, she had mostly preferred staying indoors, or only going to places she already knew. But the brightness in her eyes when she asked made him happy. "Where would you like to go?" Daniel asked gently. "Maybe the library," she said. Daniel felt a wave of warmth. It wasn't a big outing, but the library was a place filled with stories, quiet corners, and a calm atmosphere, exactly the kind of place Maya might find comforting. They walked together under the soft afternoon sun. Maya kept her sketchbook held close, though she didn't seem tense, just careful. The streets were peaceful, and the air felt cool and refreshing. As they walked, Maya looked around, observing her surroundings with quiet curiosity. When they reached the library, Maya paused at the entrance, looking up at the large windows and the carved letters above the door. "Is it okay if we go inside?" she asked softly. "Of course," Daniel said. "We can stay as long as you want." Inside, the library smelled of old paper and polished wood. Shelves stretched far in every direction, filled with books of all shapes and sizes. Maya's eyes widened slightly, and Daniel could see a spark of wonder appear small, but undeniable. "Would you like to look around?" Daniel asked. Maya nodded. They walked through the aisles slowly. Maya ran her fingertips along the spines of the books, reading titles quietly to herself. Daniel stayed close, but gave her enough space to explore freely. She stopped near the art section and pulled out a book filled with drawings and gentle colors. "I like this one," she murmured. Daniel smiled. "Then, let's borrow it." Skeeps? Skeeps? They checked out a few books, one about drawing techniques, one about peaceful landscapes, and one storybook with gentle, calming tales. Maya carried the books carefully, as if they were treasures. On the way home, she spoke more freely than usual, telling Daniel which pictures she liked best and how she wanted to try drawing new things. Daniel listened, enjoying her excitement. When they returned home, Maya went straight to her room to read the books. Daniel made a simple dinner and called her when it was ready. She came out with the drawing book in her hands and sat down quietly. After dinner, she finally showed him what she had wanted to share earlier. It was a drawing not of the apartment, not of the park, not of the library, but of the two of them sitting at the table eating breakfast. "This is us, right?" Daniel asked gently. Maya nodded. "I drew it this morning. I just liked how it felt." Daniel looked at the picture for a long moment. The lines were soft, and the colors were warm. Maya had drawn both of them, smiling gently, sharing a quiet morning together. There was no fear or distance in the sketch, only peace. "It's beautiful," Daniel said with full sincerity. "Thank you for showing me." A small blush brushed Maya's cheeks, and Daniel felt a growing sense of pride. She was beginning to open up, not just through words, but through art, her safest way of expressing her feelings. The next few days were calm, filled with new routines that slowly began to feel natural. Maya started helping Daniel cook simple meals. Sometimes she chopped vegetables. Sometimes she stirred soup. She took her time and moved carefully. But Daniel always encouraged her. "You're doing great," he would say softly. Maya would respond with a small smile each time. She also began joining Daniel in the living room more often, especially in the evenings. Sometimes she drew quietly while Daniel read. Sometimes they watched gentle nature documentaries together. Maya especially liked videos of forests and oceans, saying they made her feel relaxed. One evening, during one of these quiet moments, Maya suddenly asked something unexpected. "Daniel, did you ever feel alone before?" Dodd. 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 Daniel paused, surprised by the question. He set his book down and looked at her gently. "Yes," he said honestly. "Many times." Maya looked at her drawing, not at him. "I tried my best to keep going," Daniel said. "Sometimes I didn't know what I needed, but sometimes all I wished for was someone to talk to, or someone to care." Maya remained quiet, thinking deeply. After a moment, she whispered, "Me too." Daniel felt a deep ache in his heart, not of sadness, but of understanding. He didn't push the conversation further. Instead, he said softly, "You're not alone now, Maya. I'm here." She looked up, and for the first time, her eyes held a mixture of trust and gratitude that ran deeper than words. "I know," she said gently. The next weekend, something significant happened. Maya asked if she could help Daniel with grocery shopping. Until now, she had avoided busy places. But that morning, she stood at the doorway with her shoes on, her sketchbook tucked safely in her bag. "Can I come too?" she asked quietly. Daniel smiled gently. "Of course." He could see she was nervous when they reached the store. The bright lights and people moving around made her stiffen a little, but Daniel stayed by her side, walking slowly and giving her time to adjust. She held onto the grocery list tightly, and Daniel let her choose some of the items. "Can we get these apples?" she asked. "Absolutely. Do we need more rice?" "Good idea." Small tasks gave her something to focus on, and Daniel watched as her shoulders gradually relaxed. When they left the store, she let out a quiet breath, as if releasing a little tension. "You did really well," Daniel said kindly. Maya glanced at him, her expression shy but proud. "Always," Daniel replied. Later that evening, Maya came to the living room holding another drawing. This one showed her and Daniel at the grocery store, both holding baskets, both smiling softly, the world around them drawn with gentle lines so it didn't seem overwhelming. "I drew it because today felt good," she whispered. Daniel accepted the drawing with care, as if it were something fragile and precious. "I'm really glad it did. Ah, 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 ah." After a long silence, Maya said something that made Daniel's breath catch. "I feel safe here." Daniel's heart swelled with warmth. He didn't need to say much. Sometimes, too many words could break the softness of a moment. So he simply said, "I'm very glad you do." That night, as Daniel watched Maya place the new drawing on her bedroom wall, he realized how much she had changed since the day they first met. She was still quiet, still gentle, still healing. But she was growing. She was opening up. She was building a life. And Daniel felt something shift inside him too. The apartment didn't feel lonely anymore. The silence didn't feel empty. Every room held small signs of a new beginning. A pencil on the table, a drawing on the wall, a soft voice asking simple questions. It was clear that the journey ahead would still have challenges, but something strong was forming between them. A kind of family. And as Daniel turned off the lights for the night, he realized something deeply true: his life had become richer. Not with money, but with meaning he had never expected. And for the first time in a long time, he felt excited for tomorrow. The months that followed brought deeper changes, quiet, steady, and meaningful. What had begun as a strange and unexpected prize slowly grew into something powerful and life-changing for both Daniel and Maya. Every day added a new layer of connection, trust, and discovery. And by the time the first season had passed, their home no longer felt like a temporary arrangement. It felt like a place where two hearts were learning how to heal together. One morning, Daniel woke up early and found Maya already sitting in the living room. She wasn't drawing this time. She was simply staring out of the window, watching the gentle morning light spill across the clouds. Her posture looked calm, but her hands were folded tightly in her lap, as if she was thinking deeply about something. "Good morning, Maya," Daniel said softly. She turned slightly. "Good morning." He made tea for both of them and sat nearby, giving her space. She held the warm cup gently, staring at the steam rising from it. After a long moment, she spoke. "Daniel, do you think people can really change their lives?" Daniel looked at her thoughtfully. "Yes," he said. "I think people can change their lives in big and small ways. Sometimes slowly, sometimes suddenly. But yes, it's possible." Maya nodded, still watching the window. "I feel like my life is different now. Not perfect, not easy, but different. And I don't feel scared all the time anymore." Maya nodded. Her words filled the room like soft light. Daniel didn't rush to reply. He wanted to respect the courage it took for her to say that. "I'm really glad you feel that," he said gently. "You've been growing so much, and I'm proud of you." Maya lowered her eyes, but the corner of her mouth lifted in a quiet smile. The next few weeks continued with new discoveries about each other. Daniel learned that Maya loved warm tea, quiet rooms, and gentle music. Maya learned that Daniel liked reading old adventure books, cooking simple meals, and planting small herbs by the window. Together, they started building routines that felt natural. They began having evening walks in the nearby neighborhood. These walks were slow, peaceful, and filled with soft conversations about small things. The shape of the clouds, a cat sitting on a fence, the smell of bread from a nearby bakery. One evening, as they walked under a soft sunset sky, Maya asked, "Daniel, do you think I can go to regular school someday? Not the special classes, but a real school with other kids?" Daniel took a moment before answering. "If that's something you want, then yes. We can work toward it. Slowly. At your pace. There's no rush." Maya looked relieved. "I just want to try new things, when I feel ready." "And when you are," Daniel replied, "I'll be right here to help." Their walks became a place where Maya shared her hopes and fears. She talked about small dreams visiting the museum, learning to cook more meals, reading bigger books, maybe joining a small art group someday. Daniel listened to everything with patience, encouraging her gently without making her feel pressured. One afternoon, Mrs. Collins from the program visited their home for a scheduled check-in. Maya was nervous at first, but when Mrs. Collins walked in with her warm smile, Maya relaxed a little. "How are things going?" Mrs. Collins asked kindly. Maya took a deep breath. "Good," she replied softly. "Better than before." "That makes me very happy," Mrs. Collins said. "And you look more confident, Maya." "I can see it." Maya looked down shyly, but Daniel saw the shy glow of pride on her face. Mrs. Collins then spoke with Daniel privately in the kitchen. She asked him how things had been, if Maya felt comfortable, and if he felt supported. Daniel told her about the progress Maya had made her drawings, her willingness to go out, her growing comfort in their home. "That's wonderful," Mrs. Collins said. "You've done a beautiful job giving her stability." Daniel shook his head gently. "She's done the hard work. I'm just trying to be here for her." "That's exactly what she needed," Mrs. Collins replied. Before leaving, Mrs. Collins gave Maya a small folder. Inside were pages filled with art challenges, small goals, and gentle activities she could try if she felt ready. Maya held the folder with careful hands, grateful for the encouragement. As weeks turned into months, Maya continued to grow. She started waking up earlier, spending more time drawing, and even trying new recipes in the kitchen. Daniel helped when she asked but let her try things on her own too. Sometimes she made small mistakes, spilling flour, burning toast, cutting vegetables unevenly, but Daniel never scolded her. He simply said, "It's okay. Everyone learns like this, too." And slowly, Maya began to believe that mistakes were not something to fear, but something to grow from. One afternoon, Maya surprised Daniel by asking if they could visit the museum downtown. He agreed immediately. The next morning, they took the bus together. Maya stayed close to Daniel, her hand gripping her sketchbook tightly, but she didn't seem scared, just curious. Inside the museum, she walked through each room slowly, staring at the paintings as if they were windows into different worlds. She sketched quietly in her book, copying shapes, shades, and gentle lines she saw. "Do you like it here?" Daniel asked softly. "I love it," she said without hesitation. "Everything feels peaceful." They spent hours walking through halls filled with art, history, and quiet beauty. Maya seemed completely absorbed, and Daniel was happy just watching her discover something that fed her spirit. That evening, back home, Maya sat at the dining table, drawing non-stop. She created soft sketches inspired by the museum calm landscapes, gentle portraits, and even a few drawings of herself and Daniel walking together through the exhibits. The drawings became more expressive, more detailed, and more hopeful. Daniel hung a few of them on the living room wall, turning it into a gallery of Maya's journey. But real progress isn't always smooth. Some nights, Maya still had trouble sleeping. Sometimes, she woke from soft nightmares, sitting quietly on her bed, with her hands trembling. When Daniel heard her footsteps late at night, he would gently walk to her room and ask, "Do you want some warm tea?" She always nodded. They would sit at the dining table in calm silence, sipping tea until Maya felt safe again. She never explained her dreams, and Daniel never asked. What mattered was that she wasn't facing them alone anymore. One night, after finishing her tea, Maya whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." Daniel looked at her with gentle honesty. "I never will." Maya's eyes softened in a way Daniel had never seen before, full of trust, gratitude, and something like quiet love. Not romantic love, but the deep, soul-warming love that grows between two people who have helped heal each other. As spring arrived, Maya took an even bigger step. She asked if she could join a small art group at the community center. Daniel agreed instantly. Her first day there was filled with nervousness. But when she came home, she held 2 new drawings and said softly, "I talked to people today." Daniel smiled proudly. "That's amazing, Maya." "Not much," she added. "But I tried." "That's all that matters," he said. The small group became part of her weekly routine. She made a few gentle friendships, slowly letting others into her world. Daniel could see how much she was growing, blooming like a quiet flower finally given sunlight. One evening, months after Maya first arrived, she approached Daniel with a small envelope in her hands. "What's this?" Daniel asked. "I drew something for you," she said softly. "It's special. I wanted to give it to you because you changed my life." Daniel opened the envelope and pulled out a drawing. It showed the 2 of them sitting on the couch in the living room, surrounded by Maya's drawings on the walls, warm light shining around them, and peaceful expressions on both of their faces. But there was something even more meaningful. Under the drawing, Maya had written one simple, soft sentence. "This is my home. Thank you for giving it to me." Daniel felt his eyes sting with emotion. He looked at Maya, who stood quietly, her hands folded nervously. "It's beautiful," he whispered, "and I'm so glad you feel at home." Maya took a step closer, her voice trembling with honesty. "You're like family now." Daniel smiled gently. "You're my family too, Maya, and you always will be." That night, as the soft glow of the lamp filled the room, Daniel realized something important. Winning the lottery hadn't given him what he expected. It had given him something far greater. It gave him someone to care for, someone to believe in, someone who filled his life with purpose, warmth, and meaning. And for Maya, it gave her safety, trust, hope, and a home where she was finally seen, heard, and loved. Their lives had changed forever. Not through wealth, not through luck, but through the gentle, powerful bond they built together, one small moment at a time.